It's official. Ontario is going to the polls this winter. Premier Doug Ford announcing today he will be triggering an early election with the date set for February 27th. And as Lane Harrison reports, he's already in campaign mode.
After weeks of speculation, we finally got Premier Doug Ford to say it himself today.
Myself and many of my colleagues have it on good authority as of yesterday that you will be calling an election next Wednesday. I was hoping you could send us into the weekend with a little bit of certainty and tell us once and for all, will you be calling an election next Wednesday?
We will be calling the election next Wednesday. I'll be seeing the Lieutenant Governor on Tuesday. We need a mandate from the people to fight against Donald Trump's tariffs.
The confirmation made at a packed Brampton City Hall, where an announcement about plans to tunnel the Hazel-McCallion LRT through Brampton became an unofficial campaign launch, and the Premier was already on the attack.
Imagine Bonnie Crombie or Merritt Stiles sitting across from President Trump negotiating a deal. It would be an absolute disaster.
The Premier was also shaking hands in Bolton today. Behind the scenes, his party is still working to prepare a full slate of candidates, as the early election call has all parties rushing to prepare. Of the 124 seats in the legislature, the PCs have nominated 88 candidates, the NDP 36, the Liberals 66, and the Greens 61. The opposition parties are not happy about heading to the polls.
Doug Ford has a majority government and he should govern. He has a mandate by the people until June 2026. It's also very expensive. It'll cost voters $175 million.
I know that Doug Ford wants to escape his record. He's hoping people will be distracted and won't be paying attention to his track record here in the province of Ontario, and I don't think he can escape it. As I said already, I mean, people are having a really difficult time here in the province of Ontario.
When Ford goes to call the election next Wednesday, he will be kicking off a 28-day campaign cycle, sending Ontario into a rare province-wide winter election. Voters will get to head to the polls to decide if they want to hand the Premier the stronger mandate he desires on February 27th. Lane Harrison, CBC News, Toronto.
We're hearing tonight that Ontario MPP Michael Ford will not run for office in the next election. In a statement, the York South-Weston MPP and Doug Ford's nephew says he's made the decision to take on a new chapter in his life. Ford served as Ontario's Minister of Citizenship and Multiculturalism. Before that, he was a Toronto City Councillor and a trustee for the TDSB. With a snap election expected to happen next month, how are Torontonians feeling about it? We went to Union Station to find out.
What can you do? Read up on the candidates, what they want, what their plans are, what their promises are. Promises.
It's important to have someone that represents your municipality well and advocates for the wants of your specific community on the provincial level, for sure.
Personally, I think I probably would have waited for the Fed election and let that get settled and then let people decide after that. So happening at the same time, I don't know if that's always the best thing because people aren't as informed as they need to be.
As Ontario heads into an election, opposition parties say addressing the province's growing doctor shortage must be a key part of the debate. And they're resisting Ford's push to frame the vote as a fight against President Trump and his tariff threats. Sean Jeffords has the story.
We need a mandate from the people to fight against Donald Trump's tariffs.
Doug Ford moving fast to frame the upcoming election as a fight against Trump.
So we will keep focusing.
But Ontario's opposition parties are fighting back, framing the campaign as a referendum on Ford's record. Liberal health critic Adele Shamji points to images from Walkerton last week.
I'm freezing.
Where hundreds of people lined up for hours in the cold trying to get a family doctor.
Doug Ford wants to talk about Trump and tariffs because he doesn't want to talk about his failures on healthcare, on housing, on cost of living. The reality is that for whatever he says, Doug Ford does not get to choose the ballot question.
He's only thinking about one job, and that's his own.
Earlier this week, NDP leader Merritt Stiles said the situation in Walkerton is playing out across the province.
You feel sort of insecure.
With northern and rural Ontarians suffering most because they don't have a family doctor. And she thinks people don't believe Ford can solve the doctor shortage or the tariff battle.
The people that I'm talking to, that I'm hearing from, are telling us that the daily struggles that they have right now, they cannot continue along these lines, right? They don't trust Mr. Ford to protect their jobs because they can't trust Mr. Ford to deliver a family doctor.
Ontario Health Minister Sylvia Jones declined an interview request from CBC Toronto. But the minister's spokesperson said in a statement the PC government has increased its investment in connecting people to primary care by 50%. It's also appointed Dr. Jane Philpott to lead its work to connect every person in the province to a primary care provider. The Ontario Medical Association has warned that 2.5 million people in Ontario don't have a family doctor. They say that number will grow to more than 4 million people by 2026. They're hoping the images out of Walkerton put the doctor shortage front and center during the election. The OMA's president says the scene hits home for so many people.
We need a government that acknowledges the reality of our situation and commits to building towards a healthcare system that people can rely on and be proud of again.
The president of the Ontario College of Family Physicians says he's hopeful the debate will be prominent during the campaign and that it will focus on solutions.
Right now, we're not there. We need more, we need faster, and we're at a situation where we need every Ontarian to have access to a family physician.
Sean Jeffords, CBC News, Toronto.
The family of a young Toronto woman who was killed after being struck by a school bus is now suing the driver and the bus company. The lawsuit comes just a day after the driver was charged with dangerous and careless driving. As Nama Weingarten reports, the victim's family hopes the lawsuit will give them the answers they're looking for.
Rachel Turner's room still looks the same. Her calendar stuck on October, the month she was killed, and filled with plans she never got to see through. The 22-year-old died 4 days after she was struck by a school bus at a crosswalk by her home in the Beaches neighborhood. Her family is now suing the driver and bus company.
You never could comprehend it. You could never comprehend the pain that a parent feels when a child is taken from them like this.
The family is seeking damages of $9.5 million. The lawsuit alleges the driver was distracted and was traveling too fast. No statement of defense has been filed yet, and none of the allegations have been tested in court. The lawsuit was filed on Thursday, the same day the driver was charged by police with dangerous operation of a motor vehicle and careless driving causing death.
We'd like for him to see what he's done to our family and the beautiful person that he took out of this away from us.
First Student Inc., the company behind the bus company First Canada, said in a statement they extend their sympathies to those affected by Rachel's death, adding they are fully cooperating with the authorities as they conduct their investigation and won't provide further comment as that investigation is still active.
We want to know what kind of training did this bus driver have? What kind of procedures were in place at this bus company?
Meanwhile, the lawsuit alleges First Canada didn't provide the driver with proper training and failed to install safety features on its buses that could have prevented Rachel's death. A federal task force investigated school buses and made recommendations about how to make them safer back in 2020, including installing 360-degree cameras and having automatic emergency braking.
The point of those safety measures is to try and prevent what happened exactly here. So there's little doubt that had they followed through with the recommendations of the task force, if they were on the bus, it would have been a safer environment, I think, for everyone concerned, including Rachel.
Shortly before her death, Rachel graduated from Wilfrid Laurier University and traveled the world with her boyfriend. She was known to be compassionate, smart, and creative. She loved to paint and kept a journal filled with all the things she was grateful for in her life.
I think she would be proud. She would want us to push ahead and try to make a change, at least give it the effort.
Nama Weingarten, CBC News, Toronto.
Police in Orillia have arrested a man for arson after a heritage building was destroyed by fire earlier this week. The nearly 150-year-old building now in the process of being demolished. Greg Ross has the latest.
A hollowed-out shell is all that's left of this 142-year-old building in downtown Orillia that was completely gutted by fire.
Just a sad time. It's really hard to lose a historic, iconic building. It's in the heart of our downtown. It was just a place that, everyone recognized.
The architecture on it was amazing. It looked great. It's one of the fixtures of downtown that can't be replaced.
For the past few days, Jeff Pitcher, the owner of the building, says he did everything he could to try and save at least part of the structure.
We were really hoping to salvage the building and save the facade so that we could rebuild with the facade intact. But unfortunately, the engineers deemed it unsafe. So here we are. We had to demolish under engineers' orders.
A bitter pill for this community to swallow, and only made worse with news of how it started. In the days following the fire, OPP investigators reviewed security video from the area and determined that this fire was started intentionally. On Wednesday, they identified a suspect that they say matches the description of a person seen on that security footage. 35-year-old Brandon Costa of Brampton is now charged with arson and disregard for human life.
It's really a senseless loss.
Police are not providing many other details about the circumstances surrounding the fire. The owner says he's already forgiven the person responsible.
I'm not angry at the person that did it.
He says he's more concerned about the 12 business owners that rented space from him and what this means for their futures.
These people are small businesses. They struggle day to day on a normal basis. Then you throw in this fire and now they're left with nothing. No place to operate their business, and all of their stock is gone. It's quite devastating.
The city is banding together to try and help those businesses. As far as the future of this space where the building once stood, it's still up in the air.
We're hoping to rebuild, to build back something that's as iconic as the building that was here before.
Greg Ross, CBC News, Orillia.
Two of the Toronto Maple Leafs star players faced a different kind of pressure last night. Mitch Marner and Joseph Woll were at Scotiabank Arena, but they hit the stage instead of the ice, singing to a crowd of thousands of electronic dance music fans. Dale Medukduk has this story.
Do you think you can sing Stargazing? We're gonna try.
Mitch Marner and Joseph Woll traded in their pads and pucks last night for a mic, serenading Scotiabank Arena with Norwegian artist Kygo's smash hit, Stargazing.
Sing it!
The performance making the rounds online and at film session before Friday's practice.
It was something, yeah. I don't know. I could only watch it once. I think Mitchie was more just Joe's hype man, to be honest. Joe, huh?
Sorry, I was going to say, how much chirping has there been today?
There's been a lot. There's been quite a bit.
Not very good. We showed it to the team, so I mean they saw it firsthand. Stick to playing a piano.
The surprise appearance didn't come out of nowhere. Goalie Woll, who has a musical side, admitting he's a huge fan of Kygo and that his helmet is inspired by the DJ/producer.
We made like a Kygo helmet to give him, which is pretty sweet. I was really happy to meet him, and during that time, I think the manager, Mike, was asking if I wanted to go sing Stargazing. I warned him, I'm not much of a singer.
Some teammates giving them props for getting on stage.
I think that's a pretty cool honor to get out there. I think I would try and get up there. Heart would be racing a little bit. Wouldn't really have the vocal cords either, so I can't really trip too much.
While the singing could use some work, everything is looking good for Leafs Nation. More than halfway through the season, the team sits atop the Atlantic Division. Dale Medukduk, CBC News, Toronto.
Shea again, going right. No stop at the elbow, pulls up, and Shea into double digits.
Canadian superstar Shea Gilgeous-Alexander has been named a starter for the NBA All-Star Game. It will be the Hamilton native's third All-Star selection and second consecutive year being voted to start the game. The 26-year-old has been having an MVP caliber season for the Oklahoma City Thunder, leading the league in terms of points per game. Time for a short break now, but stay with us. We'll be right back.
It shouldn't be like this.
We've got a crisis here we need to deal with.
And it doesn't have to be. Gridlock, the so-called Toronto stop. Drivers trying to beat the red, only to block the box. This U.S. city uses tech to stop it.
He's in the crosswalk, he's blocking the bus, so to me that's a total 100% violation.
And traffic jams, the science behind them, and exploring solutions, including one that works if there's political will. Gridlocked, The Way Out, a 3-part series only on CBC Toronto starting Monday.
Welcome back. A recent CBC News story exposed the problem of big grocers overcharging customers by selling underweighted meat. As Sophia Harris tells us, some people are now calling for the grocers to be held accountable.
Okay, away the chicken.
A recent CBC News investigation uncovered Loblaw, Sobeys, and Walmart stores selling underweighted meat.
Okay.
Based on a tip from a shopper, CBC found more at this Sobeys-owned store. We bought 3 packs of ground beef. They appear to have been weighed with the packaging, which violates federal regulations. Calculated overcharge, 6%. In an email, Sobeys thanked CBC for bringing this to the grocer's attention and said it has reinforced its procedures and policies related to meat weighing.
They're not paying more attention to this stuff. This is their business.
In 2023, another shopper, Iris Griffin, complained to the Canadian Food Inspection Agency about underweighted beef bought at a Loblaw-owned superstore in Winnipeg. Turns out the error occurred at 80 locations. Griffin's unhappy the CFIA issued no penalties in that case, which is typical.
So you have a copy of the proposed class action there?
But Griffin is happy about a new proposed class action lawsuit. It alleges Loblaw, Sobeys, and Walmart misrepresented the weight of meat products and overcharged shoppers.
It gives people a sense that something is being done and that the retailer is being held accountable for the money that they've taken from consumers.
Sobeys and Loblaw didn't comment on the lawsuit. Walmart said a third party sold underweighted meat at this one store for 2 weeks this past December. But a customer at that store complained about the problem on social media back in October, 2 months earlier. Walmart says it's investigating.
It's the government's responsibility to verify compliance.
This consumer advocate says the CFIA needs to penalize grocers which break the rules.
It's beyond me that they don't take more enforcement, and heavier enforcement also sends a message.
How much would it cost them?
The federal NDP has sent a message to Canada's Competition Bureau, asking it to hold these giant corporations accountable. The CFIA says it issues fines when appropriate. And following CBC's investigation, the agency launched a new website about how to report and spot misweighed food. Sophia Harris, CBC News, Vancouver.
Toddlers in daycares are not moving as much as they should, spending more than 40 minutes of every hour sitting. That's according to a new study by Western University. Deanna Sumanek-Johnson has more on the risk and solutions to get kids active.
What did you make there? It's so big.
On this frigid January day, these toddlers will have to have their fun indoors. But on most other days, their daycare teachers take them outside.
They're going to try to climb the bleachers and jump off the top. They're going to try to climb the tree. It's back to the things, I think, that we did as we were kids.
It's something that, according to a new survey, is not happening nearly enough. Research by Western University academics shows that preschoolers spend a lot of time sitting, more than 40 minutes out of every hour while in childcare. Yet the benefits of vigorous activity for young kids are many, both physical and psychological, says the study's co-author.
Things like motor skill development, so that's children being able to use and move objects as well as move their bodies. But it's also associated with the fitness and bone health.
There's something always different.
It's all about striking a balance between that physical activity and hitting those literacy and numeracy benchmarks during traditional circle time.
Childcare centers don't have tons of space for kids to be running around indoors, and so oftentimes, we might see educators trying to control behaviors inside to try and minimize, the chaos of the room if kids are running around and being crazy. And of course, totally understandable.
Movement behaviors in the early years.
She has developed an online course that incorporates more movement into children's days. It shows how to use small spaces and how to deal with very cold days.
If we're setting up little stations or obstacle courses for the kids to explore, we can really get them moving, and that just makes me feel good in my heart.
As the move away from screens and towards a more active, healthy life gets an early start. Deanna Sumanek-Johnson, CBC News, Toronto.
All right, Colette joins us now with a look at the forecast. And Colette, tonight still pretty cold and then starts getting a little better as we move along in the weekend.
Yeah, these next few days, temperatures will be a little closer to seasonal in most cases. Some breezy conditions, though. That's going to be the other part of kind of going forward through the weekend. You'll notice those winds, so it means that even you get the better temperature, But then you have to factor in those winds and you still end up with a wind chill. So we'll talk about that and I'll take you through everything. We'll start off with a look at winds in the upper atmosphere, the jet stream here. And yes, there's been that trough kind of moving from west and now it's pushing eastward and those strong winds off the Atlantic coast. However, we get the jet stream kind of behind that, pushing a little bit more northward and coming towards the Great Lakes region. And it becomes that storm track driving the systems in and coming right into our neighborhood. And that's what we're looking at. We have a system coming in kind of Saturday, really Saturday overnight into Sunday. And we get another one that comes in around Monday to Tuesday. So we'll sort of have this series. But a look at your highs from today, -5 for Toronto. Yes, that was actually, you know, a little bit better in terms of what we were experiencing. As we roll through the day on Saturday, quite a bit of cloud cover. You see some of those southwesterly winds will be driving lake effect. And then as we get into more like Saturday through the overnight, or at least later evening hours and overnight, a little bit of a burst as that cold front with that system is going through. And that's when you'll get maybe a dusting to a few centimeters essentially for the GTA. Elsewhere in the snow belt or areas prone or affected by the southwesterly winds, which will then turn to the northwest, you'll see more significant amounts. That's why Kincardine, 8 centimeters, Huntsville, 14 centimeters, even Barrie getting a little bit more with Lake Huron and Georgia Bay playing into that. Overnight temperatures for tonight. All right, those are the readings on the thermometer. Factor the winds in, it is going to feel more like -20. And your daytime highs for tomorrow, notice they're a little bit milder than they were today. But even into the afternoon, it's probably going to feel like about -10 because of those winds being breezy. I've got it there for the next 3 days. Still hoping. Monday, yesterday, I was looking at it, it looked like about 1. Now it's gone to 0.
Down a little bit.
If anybody notices that.
I noticed.
But still hoping to get there towards freezing, if not above, for the beginning of the week.
You know, at 0, I'll take it. The week we've had.
Yes, exactly.
Thanks so much, Colette. That's all the time we have tonight. Thanks for watching. Have a great night and a great weekend.